Hello, everyone. Thank you so very much for tuning into our first episode of Cinema Forecast. My name is Alfredo, and I just want to let y'all know that when we first started this project, we named it Movie Roulette, unaware that the name and variations thereof were already taken. So disregard all the movie roulette talk and know that you are, in fact, listening to Cinema Forecast. Without further ado, here is our feature presentation.
Do you hear that, Mr. Arnice? That is the sound of inevitability. That is the sound of our very first episode of Movie Roulette.
Fuck, dude. I felt like Hugo Weaving was in the room with us right now. Mr. V for fucking Vendetta himself, dude.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Oh, man. He absolutely kills it in this, but we'll get to all that and more.
Yeah, he has that like sort of uncanny appearance. Speaking of appearance, I got a new hat today. You haven't said anything about my new hat.
Oh, it is really good. Campari is bugs.
I was will you there's no visual component to this medium. Could you just like tell the people what color is the hat?
It's a red hat.
Yes. And I was walking around wearing this and and it is just a peek behind the curtain. It is perhaps the day after a certain someone was inaugurated president. And I was like, I thought about it. I was like, fuck, it is like a red hat with just like white text on it. Are people going to pay enough attention for there to be like nuance to this? And I was like, fuck it, dude. I want to wear the hat. I'm going to wear the hat. I definitely saw people do like double takes as they like looked at it.
I wonder what their conclusion was.
I don't know. I kind of wanted somebody to say something to me. Nobody said anything about the fucking hat, dude.
Well, I'm glad you made it through that trial.
Dude, me too.
You had like your own kind of hero's journey.
Yeah, that's very good. That's good. That's good.
Well, I am Connor. I love movies, and I love talking about movies. I love talking about movies with my very good friend Fredo here.
And that's me. I'm Alfredo. Connor and I have been friends for a long time. This idea has been around for like 8 years, I think.
Is it that long?
I don't know, like 2017, 2018. I'm not sure, but
wow.
Connor also would always kind of remind me. He'd be like, I think we could do it. It would be fun to do that. And I was always like, yeah, it would be fun to do that. And then, that's all.
Yeah.
And then so tonight I brought some mics over to his apartment, and here we are fucking doing it. Movie Roulette. Welcome one and all to whoever's out there listening to this. Here at Movie Roulette, what we're going to do is every month we will be randomly assigned by the Movie Roulette a theme of sorts. These themes aren't like completely random. We have created sort of categories, and in those categories will be 4 films that we feel fit this sort of theme. And in each episode, each week, we'll be exploring each one of those movies in the context of this theme. So, for our very first episode, we decided to fuck chance and take it into our own hands. Fittingly, I would say, because we're going to discuss the hero's journey. That is our theme for the month. And the film for today, Connor already alluded to it with this quote, and we were talking a little bit about it, but please, will you do the honors?
Yeah, we'll be talking about the classic 1999 film, The Matrix.
Fuck yes. Fuck yes. Do you remember the first time you saw it?
I was thinking about this, and it is a very fuzzy memory. I was 6 years old when it came out. I didn't see it in theaters, sadly. I believe it came out on VHS, and my brother and a bunch of his friends brought it to our house, and I sat in the corner while my older brother and all his cool friends were, laughing and talking about how cool it was, and I was just getting my mind blown by this amazing, crazy movie.
Yeah, I cannot remember I don't remember the first time I saw it. Weirdly enough, I have a more vivid memory of the first time I watched The Animatrix, which I think was in conjunction with rewatching The Matrix during like the Netflix mailed to you days. Because I think I watched the Matrix. Maybe I even watched through the trilogy. Maybe the trilogy wasn't even I don't know, like the whole timeline, but I do, and I remember seeing 2 in theaters with my friend Nico, and I remember the end. I think it's "Calm Like a Bomb" by Rage Against the Machine plays, uh, and I was like so stoked because they were my favorite band back then. But yeah, and I mean this one too. This one ends with
Oh
"Wake
yeah,
Up," dude. It's
yeah,
fucking sick, dude.
it's
But I'm
great.
getting so ahead of myself. But yeah, I don't really remember the first time I saw it. It feels like it's like
Just part of your existence.
just eternal.
Yeah, I feel that too. Yeah, it's like it's hard to say exactly when this film became so defining for me, but I definitely watched it a lot as a kid. I would just like put it on while I did other stuff, and so like watching it again for the first time in a long time was really nice, really refreshing.
Yeah, I mean it has this thing where it is an action movie,
Mm-hmm.
but it's also a sci-fi movie. So that like 2 things that just kind of are easy buy-ins. Um and like no offense, but genres that tend to be a little bit like sort of mindless at times, which is totally okay, you know, like I think that film is at its core about like I do think it is an art form, but I think at its core it is about entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the things when I go to see a movie, like the question I ask myself is like, did it accomplish that goal? Did it
Right.
entertain?
Right.
And so those movies we're talking about, yeah, totally. But like when we start talking about great movies,
Yeah.
it's like, did it make me think? And fuck, dude, this movie, like the things it makes me think about are, I think that some of the things I love to think about because they were, you know, when you're a teenager and you start like reflecting on sort of like the system, and it's not just that because there's like Buddhism like
Mm-hmm.
incorporated in this. But yeah, so I always had that sort of like spiritual connection to it, I feel like, but now like re-examining it in the sort of more structural version using like the hero's journey and just a little bit of background just very briefly um let give me a chance to drop my credentials and sounded like a little bit of a fucking academic douchebag. But I have an MFA. I went to school and studied film. So talking about structure of scripts, that's something that I'm somewhat familiar with. And like Hero's Journey is that, right? Just kind of like repurposed in so that it can fit like 100-minute friggin' film. Um but yeah, so it was cool to like fucking do a deep dive and like analyze it that way.
Yeah. Yeah. Seeing it through, or like looking for the things in the hero's journey within the movie. By the end of the film, I found myself wondering, and I haven't looked this up. Maybe they talk about it, but it really does feel like they were shooting for the hero's journey, and they had the hero's journey in mind with just certain beats it hits that are like so on the spot of the hero's journey that it feels intentional.
Yeah, I wonder also if it's like an industry thing, like kind of the Wachowskis proving that they have a mastery of story to the point where like let's execute something. Like it's 216, I think, runtime,
Mm.
but it's like pretty like taut storytelling.
Yes.
Yeah, let's like let's can we
Want to just get in there?
yeah, let's start at stage. I would just want to say before we even get into the stages of the hero's journey and setting up Neo as the protag. That's short for protagonist, kids. I just love the fucking customized production logos. Like that's,
Oh yeah.
you remember if they did that? Warner Brothers did that with Batman
Right.
too. Like they do it in this movie, and it's just so like I got like giddy when I saw it.
I had a similar reaction. I didn't write it down because I was like, okay, I can't write down every single mundane thing that excites me, or this is going to be 30 pages of notes. But yeah, right from the start, just the music sting with the logo just dropping into the digital
Yeah,
code dropping.
it's so good. It's yeah. I don't know. It's almost like setting up the like the fucking the unknown like from the beginning, like teasing it in a way, but it's just good fun
Yeah.
all around.
Yeah, really enjoyed that. Yeah, in terms of talking about the structure of the hero's journey, I think For the most part, I think the film follows the hero's journey pretty closely. There are parts where, and for people at home who don't know,
Yeah, do you want to? I feel like you have some thorough notes on this. Would you want to maybe list out some of the stages real quick?
sure, yeah. So Joseph Campbell is the one who kind of penned this term, right?
Yeah.
And he basically looked at like over 1,000 different stories. Or
Dude was reading books.
this guy read a lot, and he had a lot of thoughts on it. He noticed this pattern in it, which is the hero's journey, and that's broken down to about 17 steps. And you can see this structure throughout so many movies and shows,
Folktales,
books. Yeah, it's
fucking heroes of old.
yeah. And one thing, just a side note, that I think is interesting about doing this with a movie, is that with a book or a show, like, you have so much more time to hit all those beats and set up all those things. But to do that in a tight, like you said, like 2 hours, to hit like basically all of these 17 beats is really impressive. And I guess that's what you're talking about with just like, kind of flexing their writing muscles and like,
Yeah.
showing what they got to Hollywood. Yeah, so just some of these steps. You have the call to adventure, refusal of the call, supernatural aid, crossing the threshold, belly of the whale, road of trials, meeting with the goddess, woman is temptress, atonement with the father, apotheosis? How do you say it?
Apotheosis.
Apotheosis. The ultimate boon, refusal of the return, the magic flight, rescue from without, crossing the return threshold, master of two worlds, and freedom to live.
I just laugh at the magical flight because
Yeah, I
he
know.
fucking flies.
I know.
I'm sorry.
Jump
I
to
put the
end.
cart
Well,
on the
so that's one of the few ones where I'm like, okay, well, we'll get there.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
there was
yeah.
2 things I could think for the magical flight, and it's
Yeah.
so funny. And that's why, like, it almost feels like it's intentional.
Yeah.
They're like, well, we don't have that beat in there. Oh, he should
Yeah.
fly at the end.
Yeah. Fuck. It's fucking hilarious. But also well done, well executed.
Oh,
I
it's
think.
so good.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think I said this. This is one of my favorite movies.
Yeah, you're a big like top X guy, for sure. So as soon as you said that, in my head, without prompting, I'm like, where would I rank it? And then
Right.
I'm like, no. I'm not. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't think I can attempt to do that.
I haven't tried doing like a ranking list of my favorite movies in a long time, but I feel like it's so, even more so than video games, because I do have a top 100 of my favorite video games. I feel like movies so much are in flux with my mood and like the time of my life where I'm at with it.
Very context dependent.
Yeah, and I feel like, and I don't know why that'd be different than games, but yeah, that's just the sense I have.
Yeah, but don't you kind of feel like this one's one you just pop on and
Yeah.
fuck it, we ball?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a sign of why I know it's one of my favorites, is that I feel like it's always good. I'm
Yeah.
always entertained by this movie.
Yeah. So true.
I went on a few side tangents there, but my original side tangent was going to be that the structure is all there, but these things are these steps are kind of moved around a bit in certain places, and I think this opening is a good example of that. That this doesn't really, the intro is more of a hook that I would say doesn't really fall into the hero's journey at this point.
Yeah, I think it's a mood setter, really.
Yeah.
I actually
Intrigue.
I do love that it is like, okay, spoilers ahead, everyone. Spoilers already done because he fucking flies at the end. I love that the Cypher thing is like teased from the beginning.
Yeah, that's my first note.
Yeah,
The
it's
subtle hint of Cypher's betrayal.
and it's not super obvious. It's
Yeah.
just like, oh, that's so interesting. That's like
You like watching him, don't
table
you?
setting. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's great table setting, you know.
Yeah.
And then you find out later, the things you find out later on, it's just a really cool thing where, like, you know, to help your audience feel smart, especially on a rewatch too. Like that
Mhm.
feels nice.
Yes, totally. Yeah, foreshadowing I'm a big fan of, and I think it's a really awesome literary device. And I know some people that are like, yeah, take it or leave it, which I think is interesting. For me, it just shows the craft is there from the
Yeah.
beginning, right? And it just makes it all so much more satisfying.
Yeah, absolutely.
On the note of Cypher, he was one of the standouts for me watching this again as a character, and the actor Joey
Pantoliano, yeah.
He is fantastic in this. But yeah, I thought he was really interesting on this watch through, and
yeah,
we'll get to that more later. But.
Yes, for sure. I will say, just like very quickly, he is the most emotive of them.
That's a really good point, actually. Huh? Interesting. Yeah.
I will talk about later on how he comes off as a villain or whatever, or if he's like a sympathetic villain. But yeah, he's the most emotive. Like, part of what the appeal of these performances, that they're kind of like very like this could be a Wes Anderson movie, like, in a way, like a lot of like very like
stoic,
like sort of like very straight performances.
That's really funny.
Actually, I'll try to remember that, but later on there is something that we'll talk about, which actually relates to that. But I do want to say, before we start with the steps too, the color palette is like really excellently
that's
done.
My third note is lighting is great, which I think falls into that color palette.
Do you notice like the greens of in the skin tone?
Yeah.
Which is very digital, like, and they pick that color green, and all the fucking marketing, and like it's just really intentional, like obviously intentional, and a very like simple decision, but a decision, and like a well executed one. And the look, I forgot to check. I imagine, 99. This is 35 millimeter. I'm thinking, I'll double check in a second, but it does have that look of like with the green and like the sort of like that office neon lighting. But
yeah, and right from the bat, everything feels very like dirty and run down. Yeah, and I think that's like fits into some of the larger themes of this feeling of being trapped in a world that doesn't feel quite right to who you really are.
Yeah, for sure. So true. And actually, I just want a note on that. I do think that it's very cool also to watch this movie knowing the journey that the filmmakers went through.
Yeah.
Transitioning.
Absolutely.
And like, this movie is like, there's so much of the themes of metamorphosis. I think it's so beautiful to like see in that like sort of like light now knowing what we do know about the Wachowskis. I think
absolutely
fucking beautiful. I have several notes throughout here where I feel like
I noticed a lot of it. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff just talking about not feeling right being who you are, and being reborn as your new self with even a new name, and like all that's there.
Yeah, exactly. And with the also on a separate theme, like faith, the thing Trinity says at the beginning, she fucking says, it doesn't matter what I think, which is such like it's part of like the themes of belief in the film.
That's great. I didn't write much about faith in the film, but that's totally there all the way through.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, the next note I have, and this is before we're into the hero's journey stuff. Agents closing the doors is sweet. They just have the entrance of the agents is they get out of the car and they both close the door at the same exact time, and it just shows this feeling of like, oh, these are before you even know what they are, like this is this rigid structure, like and that is what so much of the movie is about too, is just like this feeling of being restrained by the man, right?
For sure. And I think like something I was really thinking about in the beginning, and I think the reason we're going to talk about this a lot is because of this opening scene where Trinity is being chased down by the agents. Like we said, it is a mood setter, but like it's setting up themes. Like we said, like there's the color palette. It's setting up like philosophy, not just in like a general sense, but philosophy of like filmmaking, because the choreography, there are wide shots, like something that you don't see a lot these days in fight scenes. It's like a lot of very quick cuts. These like there's some nice cutting in there, but like the editing like lets the fight breathe. The fucking 360 shot, like, and you get to see the choreography, which is so So well done. I love it. I wrote this down here because it was very important. Yuen Wo Ping was the kung fu choreographer. I think
Nice.
it's another part of what I love kung fu movies, and
Yeah.
I thought that the way that this movie, and it sets it up from the beginning, it's like it's gonna feel kind of like a dark, gritty story, and they're gonna and it's gonna be like a kung fu like martial arts action film.
Totally. Yeah. While watching this movie, I multiple times I was like, oh, we've omitted to add kung fu to our categories list, so that's definitely gonna go on there now.
Oh yes, yeah, for sure. It's got to.
Yeah, it's got
Absolutely, absolutely.
to. Next thing I wrote is Trinity is awesome, which is about as basic as it gets. I think it was just that part where she jumps through the window and like goes down the stairs and she's just holding the guns at the window.
Yes. I realized too, one of the things I wanted to say was that in this opening scene, we are like, there's a point where I was like, this is where you know that it's not just a like an action movie, but that there is something going on, because like she like jumps across the building,
Right.
and the guy's like, that's impossible, and then you see
Right.
the agent follow.
Yeah, I mean, you get some of that in her initial encounter where she's like running up the wall and stuff
Right.
like that.
That could be stylistic
Yeah.
up to that point.
Yeah,
I think like
right.
it could be like, okay, so it's kind of like kung fu movie, because you see that in like a Jet Li
Sure,
more
sure.
grounded
That's
kung
a good
fu
point.
film. But yeah,
Yeah.
that was and then when the moment that confirms it to me is that dive though. I'm
Yeah.
just like, no, this is, and she's like sitting with the guns, like, get up, Trinity.
Yeah.
Fucking so sick.
That part's so
But
good.
that's when I'm like, yeah, we're like fully in like the realm of something I don't like not like grounded, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I love how just they slowly bring in more and more the intrigue of what is happening here. I mean, quickly followed up by her getting to the phone and disappearing and all that. And
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. She got out. We'll need a search running, dude. All the little fucking computer term shit. Oh god, it's
yeah.
well, I mean, we'll get to more later, but like operator is like another like cool example. But yeah, dude, so first step,
Mm-hmm.
call to adventure.
Yeah.
And that's literally how we are introduced to Neo.
The first thing, wake up, Neo, follow the white rabbit. Like literally he wakes up from a dream and is immediately called to adventure. That's our introduction to Neo. And it's so the thresholds is a big part of the hero's journey. There's multiple thresholds. Like the beginning threshold is like when you're in your safe kind of comfort place where you started, and then you enter into the threshold, which is the unknown. So I love all the setup of the unknown, of the threshold, like making you aware of the threshold, making you want to know more, just like Neo wants to know more.
I mean, he literally like first thing
Yeah.
like he probably not the best to do that sounding to him, like fuck me, whatever. He like there's a knock on the door. He opens a door, a literal threshold.
Yeah.
I was thinking too with this guy at the fucking beginning, Troy, and the girl he's with. I love how we don't get in the weeds about what does Neo do? Like, what kind of programs is he executing? And so, like, no. All you need to know is he's good at what he does, and he's like, you know, doing some sort of illicit shit.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever. That's
Right.
all that needs
He's
to
just
be
a
set up.
hardcore hacker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And fucking, I also love. It's just like I've such a. It when it's done well, it's done well. You just need to unplug, man. You remember he fucking says that.
I didn't write that down, but that's great.
dude,
Yeah.
you just need to unplug, man.
Yeah. I love that.
I think also a thing that happens often is there's the call and the refusal, and I think there's several refusals in this movie. Like,
Yeah, he
first
doesn't
one,
want to go.
He doesn't want to go to the party.
Yeah, that's a great point. I didn't.
But then he sees the white rabbit,
Then he sees the white rabbit.
like a recall to it, and he's like, okay, well, actually, now I'm interested.
Yeah. He well, I think what's great is that this concept of the threshold has been set up in a way where it seems like all you need to do to understand that you're in the Matrix is you need to be this like hardcore hacker, because it's confirmed that Trinity is a hacker as well when they meet at the nightclub. So I think what's great about that is it sets it up as, oh, this could be our real world. It's just you're not in the know to be able to find the Matrix or to learn about it or to like run into these people that are deep in the web or whatever.
Yeah, it's interesting to watch and be thinking these are all like people who are really good at hacking.
Yeah.
Like you're just like they're all different like fucking nerds.
Yeah, it's hard to think of Morpheus being like a hardcore hacker.
Oh man, yeah, but still, fuck it, dude. They look so fucking cool too. Like the outfits, like when they walk into like the goth club and shit,
Yeah.
and fucking Rob Zombie is playing. It kind of made me laugh though. He also calls him. There's so much shit just immediately. He calls him my own personal Jesus.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he says you're like my own personal Jesus. I was like, dude, fuck.
Wow. That's that faith stuff. Really more layered. So I'll be interested to hear what you have to say about that throughout the film, because I wasn't really clocking the faith stuff as much.
Yeah, and I mean, me, I grew up a-religious as well, but maybe this movie's like my religion. You know, dude?
Well, faith can mean many things, right?
Yeah, I mean, at one point in this movie, it becomes about believing in yourself.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, that's kind of the ultimate.
Faith.
Yeah, is his. I think jumping forward a bit, but the Oracle says something along the lines it's like falling in love.
Yeah.
Like when it happens, you know it, right?
Yeah, people can't tell you you're in love.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that shit.
Speaking
Speaking of love.
Yeah, so he meets Trinity.
He meets Trinity. I think along the the lines of contextualizing it within feminism, and also like as we were saying, as like a film of like as a trans story, like him saying I thought you were a guy, like, and then she says most guys do.
I didn't pick up on that one, but yeah, totally.
Yeah, I feel like it's there are these. Also, at the beginning, the fucking cops say, I think we can handle a little girl.
Oh, yeah.
And I just love how they're just like, there is the, like, no, the first fucking badass we see is like this woman. Like, just
officer,
fucking, like,
your men are already dead.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. That's good.
Yeah, I didn't write anything down about them meeting. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. She gets really close to
I did. That was something I almost wrote down. It's just like, wow, could there be any more sexual attention here than how close she gets to, like, I feel like my neck was tingling like someone was breathing on my neck.
Have you seen I don't think you have Bound.
No.
Okay. I feel like Bound helps, like, I feel like you notice they don't shy away from like sexiness, right? Like, and I think that like it's an example of that, but it is also just like when you're watching the movie and you just think about like picturing two people in a room.
Yeah, well, to be fair, it's at a club.
Yeah.
So like you would have to get close, but like her whole face
Yeah.
is like a centimeter from his face. It's not like she's reaching into his ear.
No, exactly. That's what I was thinking about the framing too. His ears up here and her mouth, which makes the frame look very cool. And I made a note about the framing. One of my favorite shots is right at the beginning. The agent is looking up, and behind him is like a building that's forming this like very, like this very
like rigid and like parallel.
Well, it's just like it just like right in your face, like this straight line.
Yeah.
Very severe sort of straight line, and then you can see like the sort of like fire escapes like behind him.
Right.
I was like, that's below. I was like, that's a fucking pretty shot. And there's a lot of really good composition in this fucking movie.
Yeah, one of the jumping back a little bit, one of the scenes. I mean, super simple but great execution of she sees the agent standing in the alley when she's trying to escape from them, and the shadow just has his like there's a street light behind him, and his shadow is just completely like cast across the ground leading up to her, and it's just like this sense of the ominous nature of what are these agents,
the dread.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Next note I have is nightclub music into alarm, and that was just like, not the fanciest stuff in the world, but just a great little editing moment where it just like totally meshes from that scene to the next. Just boom, you're in the morning.
Yeah, the sound design in this movie is really well done.
Yes.
Actually, some of those green digital visual elements I feel like were really bolstered by some of the choices that we'll talk about later, with the way that the sound design was executed.
Totally. So he goes to work.
And his boss, and he's late, which we know because the clock says 9:16 or whatever, and as we know, office drones work from 9 to 5, broski. Not me. But I also like immediately the boss is like, so do you want to remain in the known, or would you like to take a dip into the unknown? And he doesn't phrase it that way, but he's like, do you want your job? Do you want to keep your job, or do you want to go off and fuck around?
Right. That's so good. I mean, again, the call to adventure and the threshold being foreshadowed here.
Yeah, and then like with connecting back to the sound design, the sound of the ripping of the package, just like the closeness of some of these sort of like sounds.
You mean when he's giving him the phone?
When he gets the FedEx package, he's like, Thomas Anderson, and then I chuckled a little bit. I was like, "There's Thomas."
Yeah, I forgot his name was Thomas. Yeah.
But it's not. That's the thing.
Yeah.
He's Neo.
He's Neo,
and we'll get to that.
Oh yeah.
But I love the way like he rips it open, immediately like rings as soon as it's in his hand.
Yeah, and so like. Yeah, call of the adventure is the first thing, right? And like we said, we already had one with him going to the club.
This is a literal call.
This is a literal phone call.
Literal phone, cellular phone, Nokia.
Yes.
That product placement was not
endorsement.
No. I know. I was like, it was not lost on me. That's what I was gonna say. I saw it. I saw that Nokia shit.
Number 3 in the hero's journey is supernatural aid, which I would say also very neatly falls into what is happening here. This feels like a supernatural, like, because Morpheus calls him,
absolutely,
and knows every detail of the office, knows who's in the office, knows the layout of everything, in a supernatural way to Neo.
What I thought about during that part too is like, I pictured Pac-Man, like he has a top-down view. And like the ghosts are like the agents. I just thought it was like kind of like silly, but yeah, it's so true. He like, and it's like what is natural too in this case with the supernatural aid is, and this is not wild commentary, but just like a little interesting thing is, it's actually not really supernatural. It's like super fake created world, right? Like, but yeah, that part, it's shot well too with like the fucking way he like darts across and then like they fucking come into view.
Yeah, great scene. That leads to him facing his first real trial, which is, do you risk escape via taking the window and climbing to the scaffolding to get on the roof? So this is where
that's fucking wild, by the way. Like, like just thinking about it in the context of like, I wrote a note about it that he says, when he's being guided, he said, "This is insane. Why is this happening to me? I'm nobody. I'm gonna die." Like that. Like he's talking to himself. Immediately, like you see the like lack of self, confidence, right? Like the lack of self belief.
Yeah.
That he has.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, he is not ready to cross the threshold yet. And that leads perfectly to what the second step of the hero's journey is, which is the refusal of the call.
Absolutely. Like I had it written down that his refusal is him not taking the leap, so to speak.
Yeah.
Which becomes a literal leap later on. But yeah, like the cut is so well done, right? Where it like just cuts to him getting arrested. It's like very efficiently done, right? Like the phone like fucking flies off, and yeah. And then you see the Nokia really perfectly, actually, as it's flying away.
Love it.
They gotta make their money, you know? I mean, fuck it.
Let's see.
Also, it being Nokia is just absolutely perfect for the time.
Right. So what's interesting here is, I would say this is a bit of a jump forward where he has refused to cross the threshold, and yet I do think he kind of finds himself in the foreshadowing of the fifth step, which is the belly of the whale, because he's in the interrogation room, and very quickly things are going really weird, and he's kind of forced to cross the threshold in this moment. He didn't choose to be in this situation, other than going to meet Trinity, I guess, right?
Yeah. How about I give you the finger and you give me my phone call?
Oh man,
God, it's silly, but it like works.
Yeah, I
think he is a good choice for Neo It's hard to, at this point in our existence, to picture anybody else, like, i.e. fucking Will Smith.
Right, yeah, who is slated to be the
Yeah,
original
I mean,
Neo.
they wanted him to do it, but, like, Keanu Reeves, he just has this delivery to him where, like, yeah, I don't, it just felt so right for, how about I give you the finger and you give me my phone call?
He's perfect for this role, I think.
Yeah.
Which is funny, we were talking about this recently because I had just recently watched Coppola's Dracula.
Yeah.
Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Coppola's, Stoker's, Dracula.
Yeah. And
Connor's, Coppola's, Stoker's, Dracula.
And Keanu Reeves was really bad in that movie, I thought. And I'm not someone who usually notices like performances standing out too much. But like unless it's good. Like I don't really notice when people are bad because usually they're good enough where I'm not thinking about it. But his accent in that movie was just so atrocious, and I was like, oh man, maybe he's not as good as I remember. Like we'll see when we watch The Matrix, but he kills it. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
yeah,
great.
for sure. Yeah, he's great.
He's great. This is also Hugo Weaving as Agent Smith in this scene. Just in general, like the way he emotes with his lips and his eyebrows while keeping the rest of his face like so calm, and just like the little things he does with his voice to make you uncomfortable and feel unnatural. He'll elongate what he's saying like he's talking to someone who can't understand what he means.
I also wrote down lip work later on, like some really good fucking physical acting.
Yeah, he's constantly like pursing his lips while he's talking, which comes off as like a little extra like condescending too, and
his lips do not look well moisturized either. Like you can see like I'm just like there's parts where you like oh
I didn't notice that, but that's great.
But I also felt like when I found out he was Australian, like it like made so much more sense.
I had forgotten that.
Like it kind of helped contextualize it. Like, oh, okay. That like, and I feel like that's almost better to have someone who has to put effort. Like that's not their natural way of speaking. Like they have to put effort into it because it is that sort of like computer fucking talking.
Man.
Could you imagine if Agent Smith was your GPS?
That would be amazing.
Turn left, Mr. Zimmerman.
That's actually, I think that's $1 million idea right there.
Oh yeah, yeah. Fucking cut this out. Nobody take that idea. I just mailed it to myself. I think in that part where he's being interviewed, he said, Agent Smith says, "You've been living two lives." Again, this sort of like idea of like, you know,
yeah, totally.
Metamorphosis, like not living the life you want to live.
And fast forward to one of the final steps of the hero's journey is master of two worlds, right? And so he has been living two lives.
Yeah.
So the only other thing I have written down for that scene is belly button horror. Visceral.
Yeah, dude, that shit is nightmare fuel. Like the thing is, I remember when I think one of the earliest memories I have of this movie is being terrified about his like the skin growing over his lips. That shit's fucking gnarly. Like that's wild. And then they let some fucking weird fucking dude, I'll be honest, spermatozoidal thing that turns into like a fucking scorpion crawl into him through his belly button.
Right.
Like
what a choice.
That's such a susceptible place.
What a choice.
Of like your body, you know,
right.
Just such a violation of like my physical like ugh.
Yeah. Well, it had me thinking we don't really see belly button horror very often, and that's part of what makes this so effective. I think.
God.
Yeah, I know it's awful, but we were just talking about what you were just saying right there. It had me thinking, oh, maybe this does have to do with like umbilical cord, kind of metaphor here, right? Like they're like usually you're connected to life. We know that he's connected to these machines, and they're kind of violating him in the real world and now in the Matrix as well through his belly button.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like they are exploiting the passage that like nourished him, that freaking nourished him. Dude. It's fucked up, and it's fucked up because they also that's not the end of it, you know. I feel like is it pretty quick like after that like that Like he wakes up
Mhm.
again.
Yeah. Then he gets another phone call immediately. Again, the pace is like
I love
immaculate.
it. It's great. Yes.
Yeah.
Because it could be like another movie. He would go to work again. Like, fuck that. Like, we get his work sucks. Also, dude, a bunch of software engineers working in suit and ties was fucking hilarious.
Yeah,
to
that's
me.
a really good point, actually. I didn't even consider that.
But like, it helps the palette, like
Yeah.
the color palette. Like, it works
Yeah.
really well. But like that's the thing about filmmaking, dude. Like, it doesn't always. If that's your thing, if you want to do like fucking, like, you know, as true to life as possible, like, cool, yeah, for sure. But there's something to be said for style,
Yeah.
you know, and for having like a vision like that. There's a scene later on where they're walking down the street and it's fucking everyone's wearing like everyone's wearing black and white. It's fucking sick. It looks
Oh, yeah.
dope as fuck.
Absolutely. And I don't think it's that crazy. Like, if it's not like a tech company too, where it's just like they have programmers, but it's still very much like an office environment where they like have some programming, you might still have to show up in a suit every day, you know?
Yeah, it was the 90s. Who fucking knows, you know?
Who knows? Not 6-year-old Connor, that's for sure. So yeah, he gets the phone call after he wakes up. Basically another call to adventure. He asks what's happening to him. He gets a place to meet, and this is where I would call this was my real like, this is step 4, crossing the threshold here under the rainy highway. He gets in, he chooses to be there, and then they pull guns on him immediately. And so he again kind of jumps back to the refusal of the call. He starts leaving, and then I will throw this into step 3, kind of supernatural aid, and maybe a little step 7, meeting with the goddess. Trinity is the one who talks him into staying. She helps him down this path that he knows he wants to go on.
That road, you know exactly where it ends.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, good stuff.
Really, like, well written. Like, I love that. You've been down this road before, you know exactly where it ends.
Totally.
I also thought, then they fucking shove the thing on his belly button, like, fucking suck it out, dude. And I've been holding on to this. They had to debug Neo.
Oh, wow.
I have
Round
a
of
note.
applause at home.
I have a note right here. It says, Connor's gonna love that one.
You're right. Connor is going to love that one. And I hope our dear listeners do as well, because that's great. Next I have ascending the stairs.
Great shot with the fucking checkerboard floor, dude.
Yeah, and also just like symbolically, you're climbing towards this new knowledge, right?
Yeah, ascending. Absolutely.
So I forget what the first one is. Oh, well, yeah, actually, because I wrote another Alice in Wonderland reference. But the first one's obviously the White Rabbit, yeah, and then Morpheus says to him, "You feel like Alice tumbling down the rabbit hole."
Yeah.
And so that is interesting from a hero's journey perspective, and whether or not the Wachowskis were aware that they're like doing the hero's journey, is that I feel like multiple times they reference other hero's journey stories as a like.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, no, they also later on they're going to talk about Wizard of Oz, which is another great example.
That's one of the next
I
ones,
think too, one of the things with Neo, one of his defining, because Neo is not a super well defined character, which works well in a lot of heroes' journeys, because
kind of an everyman in some sense.
Yeah, you just like you kind of copy paste like these sort of attributes. But one thing that becomes very clear from the beginning is Neo does not like authority, and Neo wants to be in control of his own destiny, his own life, and that is shown when fucking Switch is like, pull a fucking gun on you, like, you know, like, I'm gonna make you make a choice, and Neo's like, fuck you, no, you can't, like, totally. I'm gonna get out of the car, and then Trinity reframing it as like, it's not about like us telling you what to do, it's about like, do you want to see, like you want, like, that is the known, like, now come and experience the unknown.
Yeah, totally.
And I think there's something that I can't remember exactly what Morpheus says, but there is something about that when they're talking about Alice in Wonderland that that Morpheus says that appeals to that part of Neo, that he wants to be in control, and he ultimately offers him the ultimate form of control, which is here is the choice. It is completely in your hands. Each of these realities is within your grasp. Well, one reality and one chosen reality.
Right. Yeah. I mean, could there be a more clear crossing of the threshold moment than the red
Right.
pill and blue pill?
No, it's so fucking sick. He even the mirror fucking assembling, because that's another thing. It's the splintered self forming into like a fucking union, like a one person,
That's
one
a great call,
being.
yeah.
It's all like, and I think what you see is the hero's journey also, and I think a lot of things that we talk about are about like us as humans developing and growing, right? And like to see that, it's such a beautiful image of him, all these splintered, disparate parts forming together to this perfect reflection. And then the fucking effects of it, it's so tastefully done.
Yeah.
So like such a well executed use of what I assume are digital effects in that part.
Has to be, right?
Yeah, it's fucking. One of the things that I thought was interesting is the red and blue for the pills. Red is usually stop, you know?
Yeah, danger.
Danger.
Blue is sedated, like calming.
Danger is the way to go. Because I also thought red evokes, in computer terms, the idea of an error. So it's like, I think it is representative of breaking of the pattern, right? Like it's less so about like stop or that so much as danger, breaking of the pattern, going into lack of safety because we don't know. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that's a great call there. Yeah, that I believe is all I have for until he wakes up in the real world.
Yeah, I mean, the Wizard of Oz reference is there
Yes.
too. Cypher says the thing about
You're not in Kansas anymore, I believe.
exactly.
Yeah.
I have a note here when he introduces APOC, Switch, Cypher. Like, I have a thing about dead names here. Like, they're not who they used to be.
Right.
I mean, they call Cypher by his old last name at one point. I don't even remember it.
Oh, really?
Like,
I don't remember that.
yeah, when they're in the famous steak scene, he calls him like by his like actual last name.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. But, and like that's another thing about like the way that they interface with them, right?
With the agents.
Yeah, like the agents like insist on calling them by.
Well, there's a great scene near the end, which
Yes.
is what I started the podcast with. We can talk about it now or get to it later.
We'll get to it. We'll get to it. We're gonna get to it for sure.
Well, yeah. So step 5, belly of the whale. I mean, do you need a clearer image of crossing the threshold than waking up in a tube of liquid plugged into all these things?
Yeah.
Can you be in a more uncomfortable situation, thrown into the unknown than this situation? The whole, the imagery here, disgusting, horrifying, love it, rebirth, all that. This is, the themes of finding your new self, your true self, is like, this is a perfect example of him being reborn here. And then he's dropped down this long tube deeper down the rabbit hole, Alice. Like, all of that stuff is so perfectly set up, so well thought out.
It's fucking gross looking.
It's really
too,
gross.
but it's sick how gross it is.
I also just, the music really stood out to me in this scene when he's looking across the fields of all these grown people.
Yeah, dude. They're like farmed. I was thinking about this too. Oh, this is another thing. Okay, so up until this point, there is maybe this is a grounded movie and this guy's losing his mind. But like that's the point where like this is a fucking sci-fi movie. Unapologetically sci-fi.
Oh yeah.
Like the fucking barren landscape of fucking people being used as fucking Duracell batteries. That's a second product placement that I noticed that we'll talk about later. But I felt like, is this movie rated R?
Yeah.
R, yeah. Okay, so I thought it was interesting as well when maybe this makes when he's like going through all of that, and it's probably just a choice. Like you don't really see his like genitalia at all. But part of me was like, is that a choice? And also, at that stage, would we even have genitalia anymore? Would it resemble like because
Well, I have a lot of questions around this, just in terms of how does the Matrix work?
yeah, for sure, for sure, absolutely. But it was just a very brief one, and I think, yeah, I just with the theme of thinking about like bodies and it crossed my mind for I was like,
Yeah, that's
does,
a great call. Yeah, I didn't think about that.
Does Neo have a hog? Does he have a big hog?
I mean, they do bang in the second one, so
Yeah, but I mean,
yeah.
maybe you got that installed aftermarket.
That's great. Well, we don't know. We still don't see it in the second one, so it could just be like two chords.
They could just be like they could be doing Navi style, dude.
Lovely. Okay, so belly of the whale, down the rabbit hole pipe.
Which is so interesting. Again, what's cool about this is like a reversal in a way where it's like known to unknown usually is like the belly of the whale that you're saying, but actually he's been awakened to actual reality.
Right.
That's like a sick sort of
right, which I think is one of the larger twists on the hero's journey is that there is no going back, which is usually how the hero's journey ends, is you return to where you started, but
Prometheus bringing fire back.
Yeah, you return with all this knowledge, skills, your character growth back to where you came from. The Hobbit's coming back to the Shire. So that can't happen. That can't happen here.
If anyone's going to start keeping a tally, keep a tally of how many times Lord of the Rings is referenced.
Yes, sir. So then I just go to step 6, which is the road of trials. The first trial just being coming to terms with what the hell is happening to himself. And what is this world? What did he get himself into here?
He fucking pukes, dude.
Yeah.
I also have to say the art direction for the real world, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the awakened world is dope. So well done. It looks so lived in. It feels so real. I love the choices of the costumes as well, like in both settings.
Mm-hmm.
The one in the real world I think is more of like a. It almost feels like easier to be like, okay, what are they gonna dress like in like the hackers? They're gonna like wear black and like look really sleek and cool with their big fucking trench coats.
Which I think rule of cool there, like you like that stylistic choices we were talking about before. In actuality, you probably would want to not stand out as much as possible.
yeah, totally. Like you don't want to dress like a group. Like, wow, those guys look like a group of organized crime members.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, oh wow, is that the Yakuza coming around the corner? They sure look like them. But I think then in the real world, the way that they look, what I think is dope about that is. I wrote down that they kind of look like starting RPG characters in video games.
Wow, yeah, just
they're
the
like wearing
rags.
like tunics.
Yeah.
And it's just like very like thick, sort of like knit, like sort of like weave.
Right. But also very realistic. I mean, it looks like hand sewn stuff.
Yeah, it looks good.
Yeah.
Lived in. Again, very lived in.
It looks warm too. Like, yeah.
Also, dude, Nebuchadnezzar.
Yeah. What is that? Is the that's the Prometheus, right? Or no?
No, he was a Babylonian king.
Oh.
Who I think he had I don't know the full story, but he has to do with the story of Daniel. I think he had enslaved the Jews in Babylon. But anyway, he has a dream that he receives a dream from the gods, but he isn't able to decipher it. Can't comprehend it. Decipher it. And Daniel ultimately is the one who like decodes the dream for him, and he interprets the dream, and it's the promise of a kingdom of God. So like that's like Morpheus, right? Like Morpheus knows his mission is to find the one.
Yeah.
He has the dream.
Yeah.
But he doesn't know how to interpret it. I think there's even like a really great like line about he says something about. I mean, obviously he's talking about dreams. His name is Morpheus, right? He's the fucking the god of sleep,
right?
Of dreams,
right? Yeah. Totally. Yeah, I mean, a lot of allusions to just like waking up in general. I mean, the final Rage Against the Machine song.
Wake up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good call though. Um, yeah. So I guess first trial, or well, he's had some trials already, but learning what the Matrix is, right, and having to come to terms with that. Like you said, he freaks out, he pukes. I think it's interesting whether or not you'd say he failed or passed that trial. Um, I don't know if anyone like that seems like a pretty reasonable reaction to me, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like we gauge those things a lot with the way other characters react.
Right.
And they're like, yeah, well, I mean,
Yeah.
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 He's gonna blow. What does he say?
He's gonna blow.
I don't think he says that. He's gonna pop.
Oh, he's gonna pop.
Which I remember when
so
I think
weird.
when I first watched it, I was like, is his head gonna explode? That's insane.
Yeah, that's a weird way.
What's
to put
gonna
it.
happen with the movie after his head explodes? There's no movie after that.
Next we cut to him in bed, and he asks Morpheus if, like, there's no going back, and
Yeah.
Morpheus like, would you really want to? But that's the next part of this
Yeah.
trial is coming to terms with, oh, you're stuck here now. You crossed the threshold.
Yeah.
There's no going home.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I love that sort of like he is not just like so committed to his like choice where it's like, oh yeah, I fucking made I'm like happy with it. There is a conversation that he has with Cypher, and some of the like, some people, there's different names for the stages. People will call this part test, allies, and enemies, which is always a fun part of a movie when you get to meet the crew. Like
Yeah.
really like
Mhm.
you know, you got Tank and Dozer. They're like
Good old
100%
Mouse.
human. Mouse, dude. On the rewatch, I really loved Mouse as
Yeah.
a character. Like, and
I like Mouse too.
I think
Matt Doran.
he is like he is one of the only characters that provides like a real actual like emotional sort of like center, like that's like earned through performance. I felt like again, like I'm not trying to disparage the performances. It's like stylistic choices, and I understand and I respect that. But like that the choice to have him be a sort of like more, you know, like emotive person, I thought was a
Right.
good choice.
Yeah. Well, he's kind of the one who's trying to bring Neo in on a friendly level
Yeah.
compared to the other ones as well. Like he's talking to him about tasty wheat or whatever when they're
Yes,
eating the
yes.
porridge. He's telling him about the red girl.
The casual philosophizing, the casual philosophizing this movie does, I fucking love.
Yeah.
Like that he's all like, what does chicken taste like? And then like I think like APOC is like, who the fuck is like, no, and like he keeps
Yeah.
talking about it. Like
Yeah.
he doesn't just get shut down.
Right. Well, yeah. One of the things, because I was taking all these notes for the hero's journey, and every time it wasn't on one of the beats of the hero's journey, it was always doing either like character building or world building or just like awesome action.
Yeah, again, a lot of this part is building a little bit of a relationship with fucking like the people on the ship,
Mhm.
and a lot of it there, and then with the whole like road of trials and the tests, the programs that he's like running, right?
Yeah,
Like
that was gonna be the next thing. Yeah.
I want to say for this part, I can never separate I know kung fu from you in my mind ever.
Oh, I know.
I have this very vivid image of you tearing grass out of a field so many years ago and going, I know kung fu. And that's like immediately what I thought of in the movie, and it just makes me so happy.
I mean, I was watching that scene thinking about how you were gonna be thinking about that.
Damn, dude. And I was watching that scene thinking about how you were going to be thinking about how I was going to be thinking.
Well, I was thinking. So yeah, we have the training, which very much like road of trials here. We start with he gets all this information downloaded into him, and then he has the fight with Morpheus. Amazing action set piece. I love this fight. It sets up a lot of the themes of the movie about believing in yourself and just having to take that leap of faith.
Yeah, absolutely. And like again, it is a literal leap.
Yeah.
I do have written down to like he there's also like there is like our first real inkling of what makes Neo special. Like he goes 10 hours straight, right? And he says this guy's a machine.
Oh,
Tank fucking says that about him. And I love when they are having that conversation in like the like sort of like um in the like when they have the kung fu fight. He says to like he's basically telling him you can hack reality. Like this is a
Yeah.
program, and just like you figured out ways around those things you can in this. And again, really well shot fucking fight. Very fucking sick. Like lets it breathe. Like and the fight scenes also just feel like so well paced and like such a good length.
Yeah.
Like I love that kind of shit, but it feels like for people who maybe are like less into that, like you're like, I don't know. You know, like it's like, and there, it feels like it's taking like directing the story. Like
Right.
he says to him also, don't think you are, know you are,
Right.
which I wrote is literally do or do not. There is no try.
Oh yeah, great call out there. Totally. Yeah, and just
Start a separate tally for Star Wars.
um yeah, and just the general, like, it's such a good fight scene because of the escalation of things that are happening during it, where you're seeing him kind of like Morpheus is kind of going easy on him, letting him kind of find his footing in here, and then you see Morpheus let loose a little, absolutely wrecks him, then gives him that great line, "Do you think that's air you're breathing?"
Yeah.
And then you see Neo start to open up to what he can do, and he's like, starting to punch like crazy fast and stuff, and he actually kind of gets the best of him, right? And that's kind of I love another great little intermingling they do here is they have, because everyone's hope is tied in Neo, right? They all believe in Morpheus, and Morpheus believes in Neo. So everyone on the ship is gathered around to see the one, right? They want to see, is he the one? And then when he gets the best of Morpheus at the end of that scene, it's like, oh my gosh, he really is. And then we go to the jump scene.
Yeah, I do want to say I love the way they do the superhuman speed.
Yes, yeah, it looks great.
It looks really good. And secondly, Lawrence Fishburne's performance, he is always so in control. And like he is very calm too. And then even in the fight scene, like there's parts where he gets like a little bit more like aggressive, but so in control.
Yeah, great.
So in control.
He's the perfect mentor character for sure. And actor, like the performance, like just,
and a guy who can emote like so well. And
Yeah,
we see
he's
it
great
later
in
on
this.
in the movie, like too, like where he like that part where well, I mean we'll talk about it, but he is really like I walked away really thinking like, dude, Lawrence Fishburne fucking
killed it.
knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, I agree.
Potentially, like I think him and like Joey Joey Pants Pantoliano, I think like two of my favorite performances in the film.
Yeah, I'd throw Hugo Weaving up there too, just because he's so like subtle and good and
of
intense.
Course, for sure. No, that's the Trinity.
That's the Trinity, not including Trinity, but
yeah, I mean, I'll say it. I like Carrie-Anne Moss in the movie. I think Trinity is well acted, but not like a standout.
Yeah, well, she's kind of a stoic character.
She is. She really is.
Yeah, so I feel like she does well with what the material is, but she doesn't have many big moments to like emote a lot.
Yeah, earlier I teased that I was going to talk about something, and this is related again. So double tease, but when we get to it, I'll actually like, I'll actually address it.
Wow, the intrigue. We got a regular Wachowski over here.
Oh yeah, dude. Look at me, dude. Look at me. I think the jump scene, I was saying earlier, there's a lot of like Buddhist themes. This is probably one of the like most explicit. He says you have to let it all go. Once you rid yourself of all attachment, there's nothing you can't do.
Right. This is the only starred bullet point I have on my entire notes.
Wow.
Which is failure. Failure is important. And I just think that is such a big thing that is often left out of, like, especially movies, right? You have 2 hours, like, you want to establish this character as a badass a lot of the time. You don't have time for them to be failing, right? But I just think his failure here sets up everything else in the movie, right? That this is the moment where he falls, the crew is like, oh, maybe he's not the one. And he starts doubting if he's the one, right? I think that, like, on the road of trials, I think it's the most important one is the one you fail, because it makes the catharsis you have at the end of the movie that much better and, like, satisfying.
Yeah, totally. I and I love how it is just like done like so literally in a way. And also that's we learned something very important. That's when he says like, wait, I thought it was all fake. And it's like, and Morpheus says, the body cannot live without the mind, right? And that's like, fuck your mind. Like, and it's like kind of underscoring the importance of how like powerful the mind like truly is.
Right.
I don't know why, but like immediately after that, I have a note that says Joey Pants so unsettling, and I think I was just thinking about Cypher's performance. He's just so creepy.
I think I know exactly what you're talking about because I had forgotten that Cypher had feelings for Trinity, and that was a big plot point. And there's a scene where they're talking outside of Neo's room, and he like looks her up and down as she like walks away and stuff. I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, totally. So right after this is like the red dress scene.
Yep.
And my first note is, what's up with the choice with the like hands folded behind the back? And I think perhaps a demonstration of control. I'm just thinking about this. Perhaps a demonstration of control. Like he is so in control that he's gonna do this weirdly kind of uncomfortable thing. It kind of evokes like maybe I don't know, yeah, like very like in control older man.
Yeah. I didn't think about it, but yeah, totally.
I had this neighbor, this Japanese neighbor, and he would walk his cat, and he would walk like that, and that's immediately what I thought of. And like he didn't have the cat on the leash; he would just like look at it, and it would like fucking run up to him.
Wow, that is control. That's power.
And it's a cat. It's not a dog. It's a cat.
You heard it here first, guys. The real power move is hands folded behind your back.
I think everything first and then that follows, right? Like that's the ultimate stage. Like you have to do all the other stuff first.
Right. So yeah, I love this scene. Morpheus tells Neo everyone who has fought an agent has died. Which is again just the ultimate setup of what Neo's trial truly entails. If he is the one, he will have to defeat an agent, and you've seen and been told how unstoppable these guys are. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, it's well set up. I also think it's a nice little misdirect. This is a like in my mind a like, oh, woman as temptress? No. It isn't actually like like there is the distraction for a second, right. But I think the real woman as temptress moment happens to me a little bit after this, which is so like this is the scene where everyone's dressed in black and white and she's like in red, which makes it even more striking. Fucking love that visual choice. But I think right after this is Cypher saying to Neo, why didn't I take the blue pill? But you're thinking what I'm thinking. And that really to me is woman as temptation.
Yeah.
He's planting the seed of like, ooh, like
sowing doubt.
Yeah, exactly.
Ignorance is bliss.
You should never cross the he says that, yeah. Should have never crossed the fucking threshold, brother.
Right. Well, so yeah, that's I think at the beginning I said I found Cypher such an interesting character on this watch, especially in the lens of the hero's journey. And a big part of that is he really is the mirror of Neo, right? And we haven't talked about it too much yet, but love, and Trinity's love in particular, is so much of how Neo makes it through this journey. Yeah. And Cypher wants that, but he's denied it, and he becomes petty. Yeah. Because of this, right? And you see he wants to refuse the call, but it's too late.
Yeah, for sure. He's already taken the dive.
Yeah.
And then he does the fucking classic fucking incel move, dude.
Tries to kill everyone.
I also the ignorance is bliss thing he says when during the stake scene, and one of my notes is he says ignorance is bliss, and then the harp goes like does this like really lovely like dreamy little run that like really underscores it. Again, these are things that could feel like you're being fucking slammed over the head if you do them the wrong way.
Right.
But these are examples of how to execute these subtle little pieces that just give that little extra something to the fucking film.
Totally. And that steak does look really good.
It does. It totally does.
They had to make that steak look really good. So you could feel him tasting it.
And then he says he wants to be an actor. Isn't that funny?
Oh, yeah. That
He
is
says he
funny.
wants to be an actor.
Yeah, I'm
He is an actor. He's just an actor acting as a person who wants to be an actor.
Yeah, he really has a lot of confidence that the agents and that the machines are going to follow through on this whole deal of replugging him back into the Matrix and all that.
Yeah.
I would not trust these guys.
He's not going to remember. They could just make him some shitty dude.
Or just kill him, more likely.
But why kill him if they can use him for power?
Because they're gonna
yeah.
blow up the ship or whatever, or however they
Yeah.
want to take them out. Like, are you really gonna go way out of your way to like get this guy
Well, no,
and replug
yeah,
him
I
back
think
in?
what they thought was maybe they could capture it and analyze. Who knows? I mean, that's getting in the weeds, and that's
it
why
doesn't
the
matter.
movie.
It doesn't matter.
But it's the kind of shit nerds can fucking talk shit about. But that's why it's well done, because like you leave that shit for nerds to talk about it. You don't feel the need to exposition shit to death. You know.
Totally. The next thing I have written down is the conversation around the table where they're talking about the taste of chicken.
We're talking
and
about
everything
they're
tastes
eating
like
the
chicken.
porridge.
Yeah, and Mouse has a great line. I don't know if this is paraphrased or not. Denying our impulses is denying being human.
Yeah. Because she says to him, the digital pimp hard at work, because he's essentially like saying, if you want, he says something about some million, I don't know, but he's basically like, Neo, if you want to fuck
the lady in the red dress,
I can set that up, bro.
Yep. And I think that's we talked about a little bit how there's some Buddhist themes in here. Impulses is a very human thing that is kind of it's interesting because it kind of contrasts the messages of letting things go. Like, I feel like a lot of times the impulses of pleasure are seen as something to kind of detach yourself from, to become pure. And I think it's interesting that is being embraced here. And I don't feel in a way like, I feel like I didn't come out of that being like, oh, Mouse is wrong. I'm like, yeah.
No, he's not. No, not at all. I think it is kind of cool. Again, Wachowskis, they can be sexy.
Yeah.
And I think that's a choice of like, again, not. It is very interesting because it's not, the Matrix isn't like, there isn't any sex in it, but it is like there's some sexy parts, and they feel like tastefully done for the most part. I think then the next part, I also have a note that just says Mouse is a fun character.
I like Mouse.
Like Mouse and Joey Pants are the two kind of funnish characters, and then actually thirdly is Neo. Like, there's the part I think where he's about to like do the jump off the building, and he's like, all right, well, I guess here it goes. Because he's just like being like a normal dude, which like, again, goes to the whole thing. Like, he's not a super like a heavily expositioned character. Like, does Neo have any siblings? Are his parents still alive?
Right.
These things oft keep me up at night.
Right. Yeah, I mean,
not really, but
well, that's one of the interesting things about keeping such a tight story is that you don't have time for that kind of stuff.
No, you don't need that. You don't. No. He's just a stand-in for.
There is a version of the Matrix where, well, I gotta get my sister out, and that's the whole plot,
And that's fucking dumb.
We don't need it.
Yeah. We don't need it. Yeah. We don't need it.
Yep.
We don't fucking need it. I love Airplane Captain bit. Airplane Captain bit is always a great bit. So when Tank does the, all right, buckle your seatbelts.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care if he doesn't know what a fucking airplane is. Like, let the guy do the fucking Airplane Captain bit.
I mean, he knows everything about our world just from watching The Matrix.
Oh, yeah. That's true.
And he goes into The Matrix. So yeah.
That's true.
All right. So next thing I have down is the meeting with the Oracle, which definitely is meeting with the goddess, right?
Yeah.
Which in the hero's journey is, you meet with some higher form that gives you some knowledge, which the Oracle is exactly that.
Yeah, I feel like I picture like the lady in the lake giving fucking Arthur Excalibur.
Great, yeah.
Sometimes it's like an item, sometimes like just knowledge.
Yeah.
That can help. I do want to say again on just art direction, they look fucking sick when they all load into the Matrix, dude.
Oh yeah.
All black and white. They look like a fucking sick crew, dude.
Yeah.
Again, like you said, they do stand out, but fuck it.
You're not fooling the agents with those outfits, but no, it's great. The first note I actually have when they go to the Oracle's place, I haven't thought about the significance of this other than, well, so Morpheus nods at the blind man who seems to be kind of the gatekeeper, and the blind man nods back at him, which is just such an interesting moment of like subtle thing that the blind man knew he was nodding at him, which just leads me into thinking about it more, which is the room full of potentials, the other potentials. And this is something I hadn't thought of really, but are these potential oracles? Are they people? Are they programs?
I think they're potential ones, dude.
Oh, the other potentials.
Yeah, like he is a potential one, and they're also potential the ones.
Interesting, because I was wondering, yeah, maybe the blind man is, because the Oracle is a program, right? Is that said in this movie?
I don't think it is.
I don't think it is.
But the Oracle is very interesting because she's a program that's on the side of humanity.
Yeah.
Which implies compassion of some sort.
Right.
I guess it's artificial intelligence.
Well, I have a lot of interesting thoughts around this. I wasn't going to get into it right now, but the agents in general are very human emotionally, right? Especially Agent Smith. Well, only Agent Smith, really. The others seem very robotic, but you see there is some very human stuff going on with Agent Smith. And so if you're going to try to justify that, like, I think it's, well, you need to understand your enemy to hunt them, right? So I could see the Matrix, like, or, you know, the machines who are writing the Matrix creating agents that have a touch of humanity written into their code so that they can get into the mind of the people they're hunting. And so maybe the Oracle is something along those lines.
Yeah, yeah. And then ended up being a sympathetic.
Yeah.
But, like, it's weird that then they don't just erase her. Like, she's allowed to just exist. Maybe
sometimes
she has some
it's really
sort of
hard to debug,
function.
man. As a programmer,
dude, they debug Neo hella easy, bro.
Yeah, I imagine just some stuff is so tied into the way everything works that you can't just remove every little detail that you want. Like, I guess what I'm saying is that the Matrix has a lot less control than you would think. I mean, just that our heroes can move through the Matrix without being molested, you know, like that the agents is the only way to stop them.
I guess the easy thing for me to think of in that is that they're not plugged in. Like, they're not plugged in through their consoles anymore.
Sure.
Right? Again, weedsy shit. That's fun to think about, but, like, in the execution of a well-told story, like, not necessary to address.
Right, yeah, I think all this lore stuff just becomes more and more interesting the longer you've spent meditating on this film and, like, all the stuff they set up.
I do like that we kind of, like, tease, like, it's teased, the whole, like, Trinity, what did the Oracle tell Trinity? Like, she starts to say it. Perfect. And during that scene, too, what's kind of cool is the first time Neo's been back in the real world, I used to eat, like, really good noodles. He goes, really good noodles, like, talking about that restaurant. And it's like, you see how it's, like, starting to click, but, you know, he's still kind of thinking it as being, like, his home that he misses in a way. Like, you see, I think, a little bit of that.
Right.
I think it's showing that he's not ready, right?
Right,
like,
yeah.
I think it's part of that.
Right.
Also, the Oracle is such a fucking sick character.
Yes.
Such a
love the Oracle.
well performed, such a well, like, constructed character. She's fucking awesome. She even says, not what you expected. Yeah, no, not really.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, also kind of at this point, I've lived with it for so long that
yeah.
I mean, obviously.
Well, she does fit the crone, like the old wise crone kind of archetype. Like, the Oracle itself feels very Greek. Like, we're gonna take you to, like, you know, this ancient mythos here, and this old woman holds all this ancient knowledge. Yeah, I love the Oracle. So this is one thing we went out of our way not to talk about any of this stuff and how it is tied into the movie. But we did have this one brief discussion of the Oracle, because she tells Neo he is not the one, which is very interesting. And so my original interpretation of this was that she had to tell Neo that he wasn't the one in order for him to become the one. But you had an excellent thought here, which I think is confirmed rewatching it now.
Right. And it's not mutually exclusive. It is actually
It is both,
additional.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
it is it like adds on to the idea. And the idea is that, and in Buddhism, they talk about like we must die a million deaths. Like death is this thing that you have to also let go of the attachment of, like, you know, he has to shed his previous self. He has to die to be reborn as the one. Like and she says to him, maybe in another life, kid.
Yeah. She says, maybe this is paraphrased. She says something along the line of, you have the potential. It's like you're waiting for something, maybe your next life. And it's like, oh yeah, that's exactly what needs to happen. You know?
Absolutely. And also, like, it all makes sense because she's like, you know what I'm going to tell you? He's like, I'm not the one. It's like, boom, there you go. Like, you're like, and she explains to him, like, you can only be the one if you believe you are the one. And it's just like,
right.
It's hard, I feel like, to parse it, like, really, like, verbally, but in my mind, it's just like, yeah, that, of course, like, you're not the one. That makes so much sense because you don't believe that you are the one. And then when it finally fucking happens, like, there's zero doubt.
Exactly.
I love the kid bending the spoons.
We looked up the actors. His name in the script is Spoon Boy.
We stan a Spoon Boy. And I gotta say, like, really good performance from like a young actor. And fucking, is that the same kid who plays Alfalfa in the Little Rascals movie?
I have no idea.
Oh my god, dude! I just
Rowan Witt is his name.
Click it. See where it takes you. I thought it was well done. I liked it, and then again, it just like the kids literally dressed up like kind of like
monk.
a Buddhist monk, like, you know, shaved head and everything.
That too.
And I also like the whole thing where like Neo bends the spoon, then gets called, turns back, and the spoon is like normal again.
Yeah, it's great, and you can see the little boy's reflection in the spoon as well. Nice little touch.
Like he's still missing that much more belief. Like he's just missing that last little component. You know?
Yeah. Well, it's all the road of trials to a certain extent, leading up to the big catharsis.
Yeah, I mean, I think she's also the one who says like "know thyself." She says "know thyself" in that part, and I love it. Just love the whole thing. Like when it comes to being the one, it's like love. No one can tell you. You just know it. And then she says "balls to bones."
That's great.
Which I thought was a funny little line. Just like really reinforcing the like, oh yeah, just, you know, some like some lady making cookies, smoking ciggies.
Yeah, she's great. She's perfect. That actor, Gloria Foster, kills it as well. So yeah, I started skipping over more stuff here because I feel like they've kind of established the hero's journey and everything they need to do from this point, and then it starts to become more of, well, now we're doing it. Now we're closing in on the drama and the climax of this story, and that comes with Cypher's betrayal, right? They have the moment of deja vu with the cat.
Sick.
Yeah, sick little lore detail.
It's also a black cat.
Yeah,
you know,
bad luck. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and they are running away from the agents. And
I would say just before that, I do like that Neo goes to tell Morpheus what like the Oracle told him, and he's like, no.
Yeah, that's just for you.
He's like, I don't even like. He's like, I feel like in that moment, Neo could have said, she told me I'm not the one, and he'd been like, whatever. Yeah, you're the one, dude. You know, like
Morpheus,
because that's how unshakable he is.
He has this absolute faith.
I also have a note here that says the Oracle is a fan of negging. You know, she gets Neo to do it, and I will say this too. He is in a way that whole thing about how he wants to be in control, and he is anti-establishment. Like he can't be told what to do.
Right.
And it's kind of funny that in like a sort of rebellious, like shitty teenager way, like he finally does it by being told like, yeah, you can't, you're not that one. And then like the rest of the movie is like slowly about how he's like, I mean, there's the point where he's like, actually, I think I could be the one.
Well, what's great is that he doesn't think he's the one
No,
until what's great is he becomes the one just because that's who he is. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so I have the next part being the atonement with the father, which I guess is like, this one is a little muddier, but saving Morpheus.
For sure, absolutely.
And he chooses to do this believing he is not the one, which is so important,
Yes,
I think.
that's what I mean. Like, it's like again, the full faith is not there, but he is started, like he's making progress on it. And it is because she tells him, you're going to have to make a choice.
Yeah.
So I think it is like, finally he's like, oh shit, actually maybe she knows what she's talking about. Cause like, and he does say, he's like, how could she know this? And it's like,
right.
Well, you're constantly being like chased by the fucking agents. It was bound to happen. But again, like,
Well, it's very specific that you have this choice to save you or him.
Yeah. But I mean, it's this choice to save you or him when he decides to go back in, right? It is this whole thing of like, you can save him and put your life at risk. Like, I feel like it doesn't feel like in this, like, the movie totally sells it, but again, like it doesn't need to be analyzed to death. But it is kind of funny that he's so like, I don't believe in this shit, and then like, oh, my friend's in trouble. Maybe I believe in this shit.
See, I think that's what's great is that he does believe her, but she told him he's not the one.
He also like believes in Morpheus.
Yeah.
Right. Like he doesn't maybe necessarily believe that what Morpheus believes is true, but he believes in Morpheus as like a guiding sort of as like someone who has helped him and been there for him.
Yeah, I mean,
friendship is the answer.
I mean, he's the pillar of
the crew.
Of the crew, which is by this point, because Cypher has killed everyone besides like 3 people. He's all he has left besides APOC, Trinity, and Morpheus, right? So it's like that is his whole world now.
Yeah, I also like the thing with when he's like killing them, that's brutal, dude. Like, and like with Tank and Dozer, and I like really felt like that shows you how well those like the love of those characters was like quickly built. But the way that he is acting in that scene with their bodies is so great.
Yeah.
Like he's so gross the way he like sniffs her, and then how he's jumps up on top of Lawrence Fishburne.
Yeah.
Like he hops on top of him, and he gets like really like gets up in his face like and finally says what he's been wanting to say. And this is actually this is a note that I had about. I think he's threatening to like unplug. He's threatening to unplug Neo, and she's like, "God damn it, Cypher!" Something like that. And I was like, "Whoa, that's like super out of nowhere." It feels like because she's been so stoic the whole time.
Yeah, she loves that guy.
Yeah, it feels a little out of place to me. Again, I feel like, and I have a note about this later on, but I will just say I do feel like it is like. It is like a movie, and I can be like, yeah, they love each other, but it's not like something that they necessarily work for. It's just something that you're like told.
I mean, if anything, everyone is very muted in that scene. If you're finding out that you're about to be murdered, everyone's just kind of like, not like this.
Yeah, that's great. I love that too. There's like the way just like the tension is sort of like hanging. I think that is well done. But yeah, then she's like, "God damn it, Cypher."
I do love that right when he's about to pull it out. Some kind of miracle would have to stop me from pulling this out.
Yeah.
I don't believe it, right? Which is plays into the faith thing, right?
Yeah,
that was his
sure.
whole thing. He didn't believe in it, and now he is faced with the consequences.
Fucking Tank's fucking badass, dude.
Yeah. Oh, is that Tank? I mixed him up with APOC. Yeah.
Yeah, no, APOC is the one who. Yeah, it's Tank and Dozer are the brothers, and Dozer's the one who dies.
Right. Rip Dozer. Rip all of them.
Yeah, and then like when they are able to exit after that, like after they fucking kill Cypher. Very quickly, I do want to say I love the names too, because it's like they get to give them these sort of like hacker names, right? And it is very cool to like look at it. We're like Neo means new, Morpheus is the god of dreams, and Cypher is like a coded way of communicating. Like,
oh, that's good. That's good.
Yeah, and like he ends up being the one to betray them.
Interesting.
And then with Trinity, I wondered like, is there like first thing in my mind was Holy Trinity, right?
Yeah, and I think I feel like I have a take how that fits, but go ahead. What were you gonna say?
No, that's all I have.
Oh, well, so the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, right? In this instance, I think the Father is Morpheus, the Son is Neo, and
She's
Trinity,
the
Holy Spirit, she is the one who brings love. Like she is the missing ingredient to elevate Neo's like, ascendance, his reawakening.
Yeah,
or whatever.
for sure.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Neo is also one backwards, of course. Sure,
No.
I'm sure that was on accident.
It's not one backwards.
Anagram. It's an anagram.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eno is one backwards.
Yeah, thank you.
Which means Brian Eno is the one.
Yeah, so great action sequence as they bust into the whatever that building is, some government building, I assume.
And they just start murdering
Well, so
people
this
indiscriminately.
This is such an interesting thing that like didn't faze me at all as a kid, but like watching this again as an adult, I'm like, this is pretty messed up. Like our heroes are just murdering people who have no idea what's going on.
I had that thought for a moment, and then I remember that they were cops.
That's really funny. Yeah, so they murder the crap out of all these guys. Amazing action sequence. The music, perfect. I mean, iconic. So good.
I think we didn't mention they were gonna unplug Morpheus.
Oh yeah,
they were gonna fucking unplug him.
Yeah. Well, that's his
and
moment.
Then Neo is like, no, dude, this can't just be coincidence. And Tank says to him, Neo, this is loco, and it made me happy to know that Spanish survives.
Only English and Spanish, the two languages left.
Yeah.
Or again, maybe he picked it up from the Matrix.
Yeah, again, maybe the Matrix. It's all there. But yeah, I think, and this is the move away from the nihilistic teenager to like a more developed, well-rounded human being for like Neo, right? Like he's got something to believe.
Conviction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like that Bravery song. Now give me something to believe.
Beautiful.
Oh, dude, thank you so much. This is where I had the note about Hugo Weaving's lip work.
Yes.
I can taste I can taste your stink, dude. What a fucking line.
This performance, this whole scene of Agent Smith interrogating
and
Morpheus.
Lawrence Fishburne also like wow.
Oh, he's amazing. Yeah. Well, especially when he breaks out of the chains and stuff. He has his eyes rolled back into his head so hard. I'm like, oh, how did you do that?
You guys can't see it right now, but I'm trying to imitate
it. Yeah, my note is they didn't have to make Agent Smith go as hard as he does.
No.
Because they could have just made him, part of the machine, but he hates it. He hates it there.
Yeah.
I love. His whole motivation is that he doesn't want to exist anymore, and they are keeping him from not existing, which is just so fascinating. I can't think of another. I'm sure maybe it's been done, but I can't think of another villain whose entire motivation is they just want to not exist. And you're in the way of them not existing.
I love that. I totally, just like from his speech, was here. Like, I didn't think about, like, I didn't give it the, like, intellectual conclusion that it needed to. Because in my mind, I was like, oh, if he doesn't, like, I thought he was just saying, I don't have to be here if the Matrix
like in this room?
No, like in this world, like I can like I almost pictured like maybe he could inhabit like a machine body and go off and live.
Which is a possibility, as well. Yeah.
But I do kind of like the idea that like sort of read of it, like, dude, I hate this place so much, I don't even want to fucking be here. You guys are a fucking virus.
Yeah. Yeah, just the smell of it, and that he chose smell as like
Yeah, well,
the
and he
thing
says,
that's really driving me crazy.
then he says, "I can taste
And
your
he
stink."
wipes the sweat off of Morpheus's head and shoves it into his nose.
That must have been a fun day on set.
Oh my gosh. So good. I also just, what is the agent's hierarchy? Not that this matters, but
I mean, Smith's on top.
that's what I think, but there's moments where I'm not quite sure because like
Well, because they have an overarching boss over all of them, which is
Right.
like probably like the president of machines or whatever, you know?
right. Well, yeah, it's all just really interesting to speculate and think
Yeah.
about like who is running this company, like or this organization, like
The other two guys look way too similar,
yeah.
but I kind of love how they do that.
I think they're supposed to just kind of they're just men in suits.
I only was like, oh shit, this one's a little bit taller than this
Yeah.
one. Like that's the only
And
time.
so the taller one also gives some vibes that he is more dominant than like I don't even remember the other guy talking.
well, they like bust into the room and he's they're basically like, what are you doing in there?
yeah,
you
I
know?
love that.
They're like, what are you doing in there? And he's like, what? And they're like, oh, he doesn't know.
yeah,
That's when they find out that they're like
that they're
trying to
fucking-
bust him out
because
dude.
he took his earpiece out.
Yeah, that whole scene in the lobby is fucking amazing.
Yeah.
So well done.
I mean, all this
And the
all
music-
this whole sequence.
The music was like, I also forgot to mention, dude, at the very beginning, they're playing, well, not the very beginning, the first scene with Neo, they're playing Massive Attack.
oh, really?
It's just
That's
so
great.
appropriate
Yeah.
for the time and the vibe that they're
Yeah.
going for.
Great vibes.
Yeah, but the fucking lobby scene. Yeah, I have the, like, really, yeah, this is like the atonement of the father, like him deciding, atonement with the father,
Mm-hmm.
him choosing to go and save Morpheus. And then there's that awesome scene where, like, breaks out and fucking jumps.
Yes.
And Neo jumps too.
Yes.
And then he fucking like, saves Trinity,
her
and
out.
that's where fucking Tank goes, oh, damn, dude. Maybe he is the one.
Right. And again, it's just through it's not through him trying to be the one, it's through him trying to do what he feels like he needs to do.
Yeah, totally. And also I love that he says there is no spoon right before he shoots the elevator.
Oh yeah.
It's a good little callback.
For sure.
And they look sick. They just look so fucking dope. The fucking outfits. And then we have the first taste of him, like a little, like he dips into, like taps into it almost, where he like dodges the bullet,
bullets, yeah.
but he's still flawed. He takes the one
One cut, yeah.
to the fucking shoulder.
Yeah, that's great.
And she's like, I've never seen that before. And that's setting it up for us too. Like he's starting to exhibit
Right.
more and more
It's
of
just-
these traits. The build up to
Yes,
like,
the perfect buildup of intrigue, tension, hype, knowing that he's going to have to face Agent Smith at some point.
I wish I knew what it was like to see the movie without knowing that he ultimately is the one, Like that first watch through. I mean, it probably feels pretty like obvious watching the movie. I feel like film heads were probably out there like, oh, I see where this is going. But again, it's just well executed.
Right.
So like it's such a fun ride
well,
to
it's
be
gonna
on.
stick in your head if the Oracle has been right about everything else, like she has been. Her saying he's not the one, that's gonna stick with you. You're like,
Yeah.
what does that mean? Is maybe Trinity's the one, or like what does that mean?
Yeah.
Um,
The three of them together
the
are the one,
Trinity,
right? Because
yeah.
they facilitate one another. That's cool.
yeah,
Yeah,
interesting.
because I mean, it's his faith in him. It is Morpheus's faith in Neo that encourages him to step outside of his comfort zone and try to save Morpheus. And ultimately, he's only goes through his apotheosis when Trinity says that she loves him, and so
Mhm.
it's impossible for you to be dead because I
Right.
love you. That means you're the one.
and the magic kiss,
So fucking good.
perfect. Really is perfect. So yeah, they escape, with Morpheus.
Yeah, there is the they escape with Morpheus. Yeah. Sorry, I got ahead of myself.
Well, then they get to the train station, right? Is there anything between that I'm forgetting?
No.
Okay, the little interesting nitpick that I have with a lot of these types of movies, or not a lot of these types of movies, but with robots in movies, like the fact that the agents are supposed to be like perfect in a lot of ways, right? Like more perfect than a human could ever shoot a gun.
Yeah.
And yet they're so inaccurate with their gunshots. Like I had the same thought watching The Terminator recently, where I was just like, he's like a perfect killing machine. Like he shouldn't be
They're
missing
also, like,
this much.
part of the program.
Well, that's and that's that's an aspect of it that makes it work to an extent. Is like I said, if they were programmed to be kind of human-esque, then they also have to deal with like
Yeah.
the physics of
Yeah.
of trying to aim and shoot a gun with all these things
They have to
happening.
play by the rules. They do say that at one point.
Yeah.
Also, dodge this.
Dodge this.
What a fucking iconic line, dude.
Yeah.
But yeah, the train station. I love then that we start to have the parallel action of the Sentinels with Neo trying to find an exit, and they're like, "Dude, if we shoot off the EMP, we're going to like kill him."
Right. Well, before that though, we have the showdown with Agent Smith.
Before the setup of the parallel action, I think it's once Trinity and Morpheus get out.
I thought it was when he was running away from Agent Smith after he takes the hit from the train.
It might be, yes.
Because I think you're pretty focused on just them fighting for that train station fight scene.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is amazing. That whole fight sequence, so good. Like, I had forgotten how good it is. It's so fun. First they start with the pistols.
Yeah.
You're empty. So are you. All that. So good. You see him coming into who he was meant to be.
Yeah.
And yeah, in terms of, dead naming and all that and the importance of his new identity, you have that great line that I started the podcast with, which is do you hear that, Mr. Anderson? And then that whole thing.
And he says, "Goodbye, Mr. Anderson." And he says, "My name is Neo."
My name is Neo. And then he escapes. But you can't escape too long because he is a program, and he immediately stops the train.
Yeah. And that's where you're right. I think that's where we pick up with the parallel action of the Sentinels setting up this stake of like, oh, we can't wait forever for him to find an exit. And he that's the other fucking Wizard of Oz reference. He says, "Mr. Wizard, help me find an exit."
Oh, does he? I missed that. That's great. I also had this as a possible. I don't think it quite fits what this trope is trying to go for, but the magic flight is his escape from Agent Smith, where you still have the supernatural aid of them on the phone with him, telling him where he needs to go, how to get away. Like, it kind of fits that.
Yeah,
that
no.
in the hero's journey.
I actually think that fits better than when he magically flies at the end.
Yeah, probably, because I think the magic flight is still supposed to be a moment of tension in the story, and it's like you need that extra suit. Because I think in like the Odyssey, I think it's like the gods provide a wind for his ship or whatever, right?
And the order is often will be changed around a little bit. So like he hasn't reached like what I'd say is the moment of like apotheosis. But like so it's the magic flight is a little bit because
we're skipping
again
a few things here. We're skipping the ultimate boon as well.
Yeah, for sure. But I'm just saying that these things can be. Oh, you mean like that's not in this? Or
no, just that that's out of order here because I think it is in this.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. But I'm just saying that like he hasn't reached apotheosis, and typically apotheosis and like the boon come before the magical flight. But it is I think it totally works well because he has this like reached this next level.
Yeah. Now he just needs that little extra to get out of this alive, and that is kind of the magic flight idea. But it's not enough. Where we come to the true climax of the story, I would say, right, of him getting shot.
Yeah,
and
several
dying.
times.
Yeah, which shocking, right? Like I don't remember what my reaction was to this, but you're not seeing him coming back to life coming. Like I can't imagine, right?
No.
So great choice to have him die right here in the hallway. Roll to credits. Great movie. No, just kidding. So yeah, this is great because this is the apotheosis, right?
It's the death of Thomas A. Anderson.
This is also Rescue from Without. This is also the ultimate boon, I think. 3 steps.
Yeah, I think for me, the ultimate boon, like, specific scene is they shoot at him and he just stops the bullets.
But the ultimate boon is given to you, which is
Yeah,
why
no,
I
no,
think
for sure. I mean the demonstration of the
Yes.
ultimate, but like
Yeah.
the visual storytelling aspect
Yeah.
of like, because okay, she kissed him, he's still alive. That's really cool. But like, not
Mhm.
just that, he has transcended his previous level
Right.
of mastery.
Right. Yeah, and I think they even are on like watching him via the screens, and Tank is like, how?
Yeah.
And Morpheus is, he's the one.
The best part is that like was set up earlier. They're all just watching that green coat.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah, so Apotheosis, he literally dies and is
born again a
reborn.
god.
Born again. Yeah, and he the rescue from without is also one of the steps of the hero's journey, which is just some supernatural force, which is very similar to the magic flight, which is interesting. So I'm curious how that's separated a little more if I look into it more. But yeah, Trinity saves him, right? She is and we said before that she was kind of like this in a way like meeting with the goddess earlier on, kind of before the oracle, of like she is the representation of what love can do to your self-affirmation so that you can be reborn as who you were meant to be, which in this case is the chosen one. Right.
Yeah, and I think it's very, very well executed in the movie. Again, I will say I think one of the weak points is that they just like that you're just basically told like these people love each other. Like there's no real like it's not really earned. And again, I don't think that
see that
needs to happen in this movie.
there could be more. I hear you, but
Yeah.
I feel like they sell it well enough. There's definitely I mean, as we talked about from the very first time they meet, that sexual tension in the nightclub too.
Yeah, for sure.
She is definitely very invested in him. I mean, even the very beginning, Cypher on the call,
Yeah.
it is like, you like watching him, don't you? Like, so they have been setting it up, but I agree with you. There could be more moments of them kind of like connecting more.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I think
Our one critique of the Matrix.
I mean, again, the way that the line reading for "Goddamn It, Cypher," I was a little bit like, whoa. But again, I feel like she had a hard job. She had to be very like stoic and like very like fucking put together the whole time. And it's like there's this one moment, and you know who knows? It could have just been my mood when I watched it too, where I was just like, I'm ready to fucking wreck this movie. But yeah, I don't know. And again, like I said, it doesn't need to be there because of all the other elements that are set up, and it really is kind of has this almost sort of like folkloric element to it, this messiah thing, these symbols that are eternal that I feel like really help it. And I think it's aware of that. It's aware that it's using these symbols like these like shorthand for us. And that's why it's like you don't have to show me how they fall in love. Like it's just enough that they love each other.
Right. Well, and I get that on that note, I feel like the love is this kind of love at first sight, kind of like mythical, like they just knew from being with each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like they didn't necessarily need to have those moments where they like fall in love, because it was just kind of, they were just kind of in love. That's my take of it. Yeah.
Again, just like the shorthand, the like visual elements, I think do a lot for it in that regard. And I think, even though I have qualms with it, I would say well enough executed. I also, dude, then he fucking when he dives into fucking Agent Smith.
Yeah.
And then it explodes in like light.
All that is so good.
So Christ, dude.
Yeah.
Like so much fucking very Christ-like.
Yeah. I did have a sad thought based on my previous note that in a way he's kind of giving Agent Smith what he wants of not existing anymore.
Yeah.
Even though we know he comes back in the second or third one, but
and then the two other guys, they look at each other and they run away.
Yes.
That was fucking funny.
Perfect.
That I thought was like, again, it's like a little bit of like humor injected into it.
Yeah.
He's also like at one point when Tank is directing him before this happened, he does the go left. No, your other left.
Yeah.
It was fucking
that
again, great.
Yeah, that's great too. To have in such high moments of tension,
Yeah.
just like little moments of humor is great. Yeah, so it's really jam packed what they do. Like we were talking about how much of the if you're gonna do the full hero's journey, how much you have to pack into 2 hours, and like the fact that you have the apotheosis, the ultimate boon, the rescue from without, and I forgot crossing of the return threshold here, right? Him coming back, and now he's back where he was before, but he has this power because of all that. That all happens in this like couple minutes, like
for sure. And like you said, it is not a traditional return, but there's a returning to life.
Yeah,
there is a return to the fucking world that he knew with a new power. It's fucking sick. And then at the fucking end where it pulls through the fucking phone, the in Bound they do that shot. And it was the cinematographer for this one was the same as in Bound, Bill Pope. And that shot is just fucking sick. It ties in again. There's the sound design with the digital stuff. When they transform into agents, how like their like screams are slightly digitized.
Yeah, one note I forgot on the topic of sound design is the impacts while Agent Smith and Neo are fighting. Every hit is boom, boom. I'm trying to do this so I don't blow out the mic, but just every hit you can hear so clearly. It's so dominant. It's so over the top, but it works so well. Every like, not even the hits, every punch is like this.
And I think that is them paying tribute to
Kung Fu
films.
I think so too.
Also, dude, another like little digital sound design thing is when Cypher comes back right before he starts killing them. He is gasping and it's a little bit digital too.
Oh,
and
I didn't
just
notice
those
that.
little touches
That's nice.
are so fun.
Random nitpick here on the topic of Cypher.
Pick that nit, buddy.
How the heck did he get into that meeting with the agent if he was the only one setting that up? Because you got to plug yourself in. Someone's got to unplug you and get you out.
You need an exit, yeah.
Yeah, so it doesn't quite make sense, but it's a small enough nitpick that.
Yeah. I wonder if he could just kind of be like, hey, man, I just want to kind of go
but
scout
anyone
around.
Could be watching.
Right. No, and how easy would it be to look at, I mean.
Because they know what they're saying and doing and stuff, so they would see him there with an agent.
It's true.
Small nitpick though.
Yeah, for sure.
Freaking love this movie. Pulls out of the phone. We hear him on a call. So the last two steps of the hero's journey: Master of Two Worlds, as I alluded to, and Freedom to Live.
He's flying, dude.
He is now the Master of Two Worlds, right? The Matrix and the real world, because he has found his true identity. So it's more than just he has superpowers now. He has found confidence in his whole existence and his purpose.
That's so true. That really is true. I really honestly hadn't thought about that part as much, but that's awesome. He is he was so lost and now he has found purpose.
Yeah. He's found
not
faith
just that,
in this
but
larger cause and faith in himself and
love, man.
Yeah. Love's the key.
Friendship.
Yeah. It's funny because love is so often used in this kind of way to be the magical fix all thing, but for some reason it always works for me because I just feel like it's such a human thing to understand that love will solve most problems.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's corny as fuck, but
I love it.
I love love. Love to me is a binding force of humanity. I think it's so important, and I think that's why it feels corny and played out sometimes, but still works because it is so central to our existence.
And it's such a passionate emotion that everyone just can relate to and can evoke so many feelings from you. And then on the note of Freedom to Live, which is the final step of the hero's journey, he's whoever he's talking to on the phone, he seems to be recruiting someone to escape from the Matrix, and he says something along the lines of, "I didn't come here to show you how it ends. I came here to show you how it will begin," which is the perfect Freedom to Live bow to wrap up this whole experience. And then we get a magic flight.
Yeah, magic flight again. Magic flight returns. and then we get fucking wake up, dude. It's kind of crazy that then they're like, let's go back and do 3 more movies. I mean, I get it. It's
Mhm.
such an interesting world, but it also
Yeah.
just I see the temptation, but man, part of me is just like, what if they'd never. Dude, honestly, I think I'm the kind of person.
Someone else would have bought the rights from them and made it even worse.
Who knows? I mean, dude, I feel like, and shout out to, fucking, I feel like listening to David Sims talk about those, like, the second and third movies really actually honestly made me
On blank check.
on blank check
Blanco Checo.
Blanche check on blank check with Griffin and David. I think it like did kind of help me enjoy the movies more, but I still don't think that, like, they don't reach the peak of
no.
of impact
No.
that the first one does. I mean, I think about all of them a lot because I'm a fucking nerd and I love thinking about that shit.
I love them a lot as kids, as a kid, because just the second and third one has so many cool, awesome action. Like, as a big Dragon Ball Z fan as a kid, like, I just want to see these guys like zip around and do cool stuff. But like as a film, I mean, the Matrix, the original Matrix is just perfect. I mean, as we've talked about, it's just like every there's no wasted scenes. Like, everything is building tension, building intrigue, building lore, setting up the hero's journey in this perfect way to give you the ultimate catharsis at the end.
I feel like even the complaints I've had about it, I have almost said how they're strengths. Like, I complained about the love thing, and it's like, well, it's such an unknown world that, like, let's just use shorthand to execute those things, right?
Yeah. And when I say perfect, like, nothing's perfect, but it's pretty freaking close.
It's a great movie. It's a S tier piece of film.
Yeah, I think we can both agree S tier.
Yeah, for sure. Did you ever play the video game?
I did, on the PS2.
Fuck,
yeah.
I not for me.
What'd you play it on?
Some form of Xbox.
Oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
But that game was sick as fuck.
Yeah, slow down time.
Really
stuff,
well
dodge
done.
bullets, yeah.
And again, dude, I think have you've seen the Animatrix?
Yes,
dude. Just that is
Animatrix amazing. Yeah,
it lives in my mind. Just the
certain scenes. Yeah,
I think I said this last night when my friends were driving me home. I said the thing about the Animatrix is that at the time, the way that animation and digital animation worked, there was that uncanniness to it, but they use that as a tool for storytelling, and it's the perfect environment because it is about this construct, right? That like we exist in.
Right. Yeah, it's been so long, I can't really remember the animation style too well. There's just certain like parts in that movie that are just forever stuck in my head.
The fucking runner, dude.
Yes,
that one,
that's my favorite. Yeah.
Fuck, dude. It is so well done. And I mean, like, honestly, at this point, I haven't seen the fourth one.
Me neither.
Man.
Resurrection. Right.
Wow. Future podcast episode potentially.
Yeah. We'll
put that in our section. We'll call it 4 on the Floor or some shit like that. And it'll just be the fourth
film in a series.
Yeah.
Goblet of Fire's in there.
Yeah, Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I mean, I feel like, do you have any sort of like bow you want to put on the whole sort of thing?
Yeah, I mean, I think the movie itself is the bow, right? Like, it's just like, the hero's journey is so perfectly tied up at the end that I feel like, yeah, I don't know what else I have to say about it other than I love that movie.
Yeah. I think I would just reiterate that it is cool to see it framed in this sort of step-by-step process, again, like a way that is implemented a lot in like script writing, and I think connecting that to a story of metamorphosis and having the context that these are two trans filmmakers, I think is really 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 heartwarming to like have that whole sort of context added onto it. Like I think that I think lots of people can relate with not feeling comfortable with where you are,
Yeah.
or who you are, or how you feel in your body. And
I mean, I think the majority of people working 9 to 5 jobs can immediately relate to Neo, right?
yeah, for sure. But I think even beyond that, just
Yeah.
like feeling like there's something more to all this.
Yeah.
And yeah, just the whole sort of gamut that it runs, but it is so like taut in its like viewpoint, I think is really well done, like so tightly done. I love the elements of like Buddhism, of shedding the former self, of death as a part of progress.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just beautiful fucking movie. Like it is like this cute, well, not cute, but it is this like action movie, this highly choreographed fights, but it's also like this beautiful statement about humanity.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the fight scenes are there just to elevate the stakes and the tension and
Yeah.
pull you in, but the core of it is really about this transformation and the deeper themes they're trying to get into.
Dripping with fucking style, too.
Yeah, style. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Dude, the hero's journey, more like the human's journey.
Wow. How profound.
Connor, it has been such a good time talking to you about this. But I think it's time to set up next week's episode.
Yep.
So in a continuation of the hero's journey, we're going to be talking about
Spider-Man, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man from 2001, 2003, 2001.
I have your computer. I have my phone right here. I'm going to tell you right now. Spider-Man. I look like an old man when I do that. 2002.
Ah, okay.
2002 is when it came out. Yes, we'll be talking about that fucking movie. It's going to be fucking sick.
I haven't seen that one in a long time. Matrix is one I basically know like the back of my hand. I couldn't tell you scene for scene what happens, but I basically, like, every single moment of this film, I was like, yep. For Spider-Man, I just remember some of the big scenes, but yeah, it's been a long time.
It'll be fun to revisit for sure.
Yeah.
Bonesaw is ready.
Especially with, I can't help but already start thinking about how it ties into these steps of the hero's journey.
For
and
sure.
There's so much of it there, so it's going to be fun.
It's ripe for content. Anyway, that has been us. Again, my name is Alfredo Arnaiz. My good buddy over here,
Connor Zimmerman.
I just a quick couple of personal things. I'm in a band. We're called Laminate. You can check us out on Spotify. That's LAMINATE. The Instagram is the same, but with 2 L's. Laminate, 2 L's, and then me. If you want to look me up, I do some art shit. I am Fredo Rips, FREDORIPS on social media. Thank y'all so very much.
Thanks, guys.
Oh, and you know what? By the time this comes out, maybe you can fucking follow us, Movie Roulette, or if we don't get that fucking name, we'll keep you updated. Have a good night.
Peace.